Hey Goldies. Okay, so I'm back for part two of this video, and it's late at night, so I know y'all probably sleep by now, but I really wanted to get through my list. All right. If you're new to the channel, please remember to like and like this stream and subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe to the channel, make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when I go live again. Okay. Um, Definitely leave some comments for me, especially if you join me during this live stream. Feel free to leave some comments for me so I can see and know what it is that you are thinking, and even if I'm making sense. Okay. Because this review is all my perspective. Okay. And then feel free to share this content if you feel that it can help someone. All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and get right into it. We started the conversation earlier today, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a recap of the video, and I mean a recap of the points that I've already covered, excuse me, and kind of go back over those things. All right. This was a really interesting movie for me. I watched it twice. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I made time to watch this movie twice because it was very intriguing for me. Um, yeah, so I made sure to watch it twice. And the first time I watched it, I guess just for understanding. And the second time was for clarity on what I thought was taking place. Okay. This movie, Malcolm and Marie, is a new movie that is on Netflix. The actors, it's starring only two actors, centered in just one setting. And it is really dynamic. Okay. The two actors are John David Washington, which is Denzel Washington's son, and then Zendaya. Okay. And the setting is in the home that they share together. All right. Now, um, the scene is in the home that they share together, and the movie begins after they've left the viewing for a movie that he produced, the opening night viewing for a movie that he produced or created and received an award for. So this scene is set in the home as they have come from the viewing, and Zendaya is really upset. Okay, Zendaya's character's name is Marie. All right, so Marie comes in, and you can tell she is really agitated. Oh, let me also say that I believe that this movie is like a depiction of modern relationships. Okay, everyone that I heard talking about this movie were really surface level. Like they just said that the movie was quote unquote toxic. Okay. And it was too much arguing, right? But I think that a lot of the reviews lack introspection. And it's really easy for us as Black women to find fault in men, especially men that we are in relationships with. But um, it's really difficult, I think, for us to take that introspective look and really think about how we're contributing to the issues and the relationships that we have across the board. Okay. We're talking specifically about romantic relationships tonight, but I'm sure this character, Marie, has issues in almost every relationship. System that she has in her life, family, friends, girls, like I think she probably just has issues in relationship, period. Okay. I've titled this video A Tale of a Broken Woman because I believe that this character Marie is actually a broken and unhealed woman, and her trauma is being realized in this movie or in this relationship. Okay, the thing is that a lot of us don't notice this trauma or the brokenness that a lot of us are living and functioning in, and even trying to mask as normalcy um, or what could I say? Trying to mask as another person's fault or issue. Okay. So Marie comes in, she's storming into the house. Okay. She's like walking fast and like you can tell she is upset. So she's going into the kitchen and she is going through, I think she used the bathroom first. And then after that, she came into the kitchen and then searched for a pot and a pan, a pot or a pan, and began making some macaroni. Okay. She wasn't speaking much to Malcolm, but you could tell that Malcolm had been drinking a little bit and, he kind of was just like, whatever. Okay. I'm probably going to make a part three, I guess now. Probably going to make a part three to really speak about the movie from Malcolm's perspective, because I think that his side needs to be explored a little bit as well. But there's so much content surrounding Marie, if you pay attention to it, that, this video, I'm going to try to get it done in an hour, but this can really be a really in-depth and intricate discussion, you know, if there's room for it to be had. Okay. So anyway, she comes in and I have written out a lot of points, and I'm going to start my points um, from the perspective of what a broken woman would do. These are all things that Marie did. And if you watch the movie, you'll be able to see it. Okay. So I'm going to start my talking points from things from the perspective of what a broken woman would do, and then follow up with suggestions of what a healed woman, a woman that has gone on her self love journey, a woman that is not afraid of taking an introspective look or has taken that introspective look, a healthy and whole woman, things that that kind of woman would do. All right. And they're very different. And they ameliorate the the drama and everything that unfolded as a woman operating from her broken or unhealed self. Okay. So, um, the first thing is that a broken woman, Marie in this case, would start arguments. She starts arguments. If you look at the video, the movie, you'll realize that Marie started each and every argument in this movie. I think there were 3 or 4 cycles of argument in this movie, and Marie was responsible for starting every argument. Just take a look and you'll notice that she was the one starting these arguments, sometimes out of like thin air, just like after everything calmed down, he seemingly apologized, she seemingly accepted it. Marie would start another argument. So the first argument that she started was over Malcolm's um, um, forgetting to acknowledge her during his acceptance speech. Okay. She felt that the movie that he had created was loosely or, wholly based around his life, based around based around her life, based around events and scenarios that she had shared with him, and she just felt that she should have been a nice piece of his acknowledgement or acceptance speech, because she felt that if she hadn't lived the life she lived and shared it with him, then he wouldn't have been able to create the art that he did create and ultimately get the reward for or get the award for. All right. So she came in and she was very upset that he hadn't properly acknowledged her during his acceptance speech. He asked her what was the issue, and she said, nothing. It's no problem. I don't have an issue. And he was like, yeah, yes, you do. You do have a problem. Something is going on. What's up? And she continued to deny that she had a problem. But after he relented a little bit, she came out and said that she didn't like his lack of acknowledgement of her during his acceptance speech. So he said to her that he had apologized to her in the moment, and she told him that it was fine, that he that she wasn't upset and that it was no problem, but she actually was upset and she acted as if she were upset during the movie premiere, like I guess while they were sitting there viewing the movie, and then after for the release party, she just kind of acted as if she had like a chip on her shoulder or something like that. And, she felt that he should have known better and that he should have known that what she was upset about. And that's something that a broken woman would assume, right? A broken woman would assume that you know what the problem is, or a broken woman will assume that you know how you have hurt or harmed her, right? But in reality, those healed women, women that have gone through their journeys, they know how to stand up for themselves, how to advocate for themselves, how to correct wrongs against them, even in the moment. Okay. They know how to have those conversations without hurting or harming or attacking another person, right? They know how to advocate for themselves without it turning into a nasty argument or some type of fight. Okay. And if Marie was in a relationship as a whole and healed woman, then she would have been able to communicate to Malcolm her dislike for what was taking place. She wouldn't have said that she was fine. She wouldn't have said that everything was okay if it in fact weren't. And she would have been able to communicate with him. This movie is about communication, okay? She would have been able to communicate with him, even non-verbally, that he needed to go and fix something. All right. Um, so she made this macaroni for him, and her goal, I guess, was to just move forward and to just sweep it under the rug. And that's something that a broken woman or an unhealed woman would do. She would sweep her issues or concerns under the rug, even though, excuse me, she's clearly bothered, even though she clearly is hurt or didn't like something, she'll pretend that she isn't hurt or isn't bothered by it, all while holding on to it and remembering it and allowing it to shape her perspective moving forward, right? This broken or unhealed woman will never forget those things. And she will use those things as ammo in the future when she needs to pull out instances or occurrences of wrongdoing against her perpetuated upon her, right? And that's what Marie did. She pretended as if she wasn't upset, only so that when she had an opportunity to pull it out, then she could pull it out as kind of like a gotcha moment against Malcolm. All right. So she moved forward in making the macaroni, and Malcolm um, started to go in and recap the night and kind of talk about what had taken place that night. So, so Marie brought it up, brought her little issue up again, and um, Malcolm basically said something like, you know, you are being unreasonable or something like that. And Marie, upset, just really upset and wanting him to feel her wrath, um took his words, and if you pay attention, misconstrued his words. and she made it seem as if he said something that I didn't hear him say. I might have to go back and rewatch this part, but I didn't hear him call her a cunt. That's what she said that he called her. And she said that I would think that you would not call me a cunt or disrespect me or belittle me or berate me while you're sitting there eating the macaroni that I made for you. Right? So, this is macaroni that she made for him out of her own choosing, right? She came into the house and just started doing this because that's what she wanted to do. And then when he said something or responded in a way that she didn't like, then she took her gesture of making the macaroni as a weapon against him to point out or to continue to point out how he was a terrible person, basically. And that's something that a broken woman would do. A broken woman uses her gestures or um, the things that she tolerates or accepts or participates in against, unwillingly against the other person, right? So she'll say, I watched this movie with you, or I went here with you, or I listened to this, or I did this for you, and I didn't want to. And, how dare you disrespect me? And look what I've done for you, which is just another way for her to paint herself as a good person, right? All the while disrespecting her own core and not acknowledging or stating that she isn't interested or doesn't want to do something. Okay, so a healed or whole woman will not perform gestures or participate in things that she doesn't want to do. All right, if she doesn't want to cook, she's not going to cook. If she doesn't want to go to this place, she's not going to go to this place. If she doesn't want to be with this set of people, she's not going to be with this set of people. If she does choose to do that and then turns her agreement to do those things against you, then that is manipulation of the highest form. And that is what broken women do. They manipulate. All right? Think about it in in realistic terms. It's manipulation, and it's manipulation to paint yourself or to paint Marie used that as manipulation to paint herself as a good person when in reality she was doing it so that she could throw it back in his face. Okay. So whole and healed women do not perform gestures or do things that they don't want to do. All right. The next thing that a broken woman does is that she lets others get into her ear and downplay her contributions, or in this case, the people that were at the movie release or at the viewing party kind of made her feel as if Malcolm forgot about her by some of the statements that they made. And what a broken woman does is she allows a person to come to her and tell her who she is. Okay. These people, like I think it was Malcolm's mom, came to her and said, I know Malcolm depends on you. So even though he didn't mention you, just know that he depends on you, which is messy. And Marie fell right into it, right? Um, from Malcolm's perspective, we'll go deeper into the movie, into the points later on, but Malcolm didn't feel like the movie was about her. He didn't feel like it was, you know, Marie's story, titled as something else. So, of course, he definitely should have acknowledged her as his lady. I'm not denying that at all. But to expect him to go above and beyond, or to allow his mother or the co-star of the movie to come in and make you feel some kind of way about the way he acknowledged you. I don't know if he didn't acknowledge her at all, or if he just, you know, didn't acknowledge her well enough for Marie. Okay. But for the co-stars to make it seem as if, to be messy and stuff, and for Marie to follow right into it, that's something that a broken woman will do. She will take the words of other people and give those words more weight than the people that's there for her day to day in her life, caring for her. All right. So we can see in the movie as the movie progresses that Malcolm really loves her. Okay. Maybe he doesn't know how to express it well, but we can tell that Malcolm really loves her. And the mother, the co star, or whatever, I'm sure, have not been down for Marie the way Malcolm has. So they are in no position to tell Marie anything about how Malcolm feels for her. And if they were mentioning those things, they were being messy. And if Marie played into it, then she was playing into it from her lower self and not operating from her higher self, knowing who she is as a woman and who she is to Malcolm and who she is in the larger scope of the relationship. Okay. Um, So, if she had stood up for herself, a healed and whole woman stands up for herself, and like she stands up for herself. She is always focused on caring for herself, and she wouldn't have stayed in a place where she felt unappreciated or disrespected to that degree, right? It wouldn't have been just that one night that Malcolm just showed out and showed her that he didn't care about her or that he didn't appreciate her. If he really, didn't appreciate her or, you know, didn't love her. She would have known it a long time ago, and a healthy and whole, healed woman would have left him a long time ago, right? He wouldn't have had an opportunity to wait until the movie night premiere to just show some immense disrespect and, that just be the straw that broke the camel's back. A whole and healed woman is not going to tolerate disrespect at all. And once she sees that he doesn't want to show appreciation for her or doesn't want to show his love publicly for her or just acknowledge the love that he has for her, she would have left him a long time ago. All right. So, yeah, a whole and healthy woman is not going to stay in a place where she feels unappreciated. All right. So, um, a broken woman will threaten to leave for lack of an acknowledgement or to receive an apology for wrongdoing. That's something that Marie did. She got so upset at Malcolm, and she said to him, you don't ever think that I'll leave you, and you don't ever think that I'll um leave this relationship over your refusal to apologize or some statement that she made like that. And and that's coming from a broken place, right? One thing I've learned is that you cannot force a person to apologize to you, right? If you have to say, now apologize to me, then that means that that person hasn't gone through the process to feel the remorse necessary in order to issue an apology to you, right? So if you are in a relationship with the person, a whole and healthy woman knows um, that this person lacks the mental fortitude, I guess you could say, to really empathize about another's feelings, right? So she's not going to say, I'm going to leave him if he doesn't apologize, right? What she is more concerned about is something um bigger. She's concerned about being respected, right? She doesn't want to have to shame you or guilt you into respecting her or acknowledging her, right? So, a whole and healthy woman, a healed woman, will leave if she's disrespected. Period. She's not going to stay in a situation where she's constantly disrespected and continue to accept that disrespect out of some badge of honor or out of what? I don't know why Marie could stay in a position as a whole and healthy woman where she's being disrespected. I don't know how she could stay in a situation like that and be okay with it. right? So a whole and healthy woman would leave if she felt disrespected. There's no room to shame or guilt a person to get what you want. That again is manipulation, right? That's emotional manipulation. So so yeah, from her broken place, she did threaten to leave for lack of an acknowledgement or for lack of an apology, right? And a whole and healthy woman wouldn't do so. She would leave if she felt disrespected and not have to rely on the shame and guilt to get you to comply with her emotional needs or emotional demands. All right. So that was the ending of the first fight that they had. The first, excuse me, the first round of fighting. Um, she started to act nice to Malcolm again, and I guess she felt that it was it seemed as if they were going to move on, right, and go into the rest of their night. So from her broken place, she returned to her quote unquote happy place, even though she didn't feel happy inside. She pretended as if she was satisfied with his explanation or his articulation of his thoughts to that moment or to that point, and um, she pretended to be happy, right? Um, but oh, let me see, what did I say? Okay. But what really happened was that she started another argument. This was going into the second cycle of arguing. She started another argument out of nowhere. Watch the movie, you will see that she just kind of did one of those. I find it funny how, you know, and kind of launched into another complaint, which turned into another argument, right? Because she was never satisfied initially. She just pretended as if she was satisfied. And, you know, they hugged and kissed and all of this stuff. She pretended as if she were okay in her brokenness, only to moments later go back into the conflict, the inner conflict that she was experiencing, only for it to come out again and manifest itself into another argument. All right. So a healed and healthy, a whole woman is going to look for sincerity and changed behavior. Right? This is what she's going to acknowledge. She's not going to acknowledge um, a a pleasant mood or a light joke or a hug and a kiss and say, okay, I'm fine, and forget about the concerns that she had, right? Or sweep those concerns under the rug or pretend as if she's happy again. What she's going to be looking for is a sincere acknowledgement of what happened or the wrong that had been done. And then she'll be looking subsequently for changed behavior. Now, that's not going to happen in the next 5 minutes, okay? This is something that you will have to observe of this guy that you're with, right? But you are going to be looking for sincerity in his words and deeds, and then changed behavior, right? Change behavior. So when you are operating from your whole and full and healthy and happy self, you are um you are you have let your hurt go and you have taken those words or gestures of acknowledgement, and now you're looking at him and you are looking for changed behavior. That's what you are acknowledging, and that's what's letting you know that this relationship or his actions towards you are genuine, right? You're not just going to sweep your feelings under the rug and pretend as if you're happy. Pretend as if everything is okay. Okay. Now, um, she pretended that she was okay only for like 5 minutes before she went into a whole nother cycle of arguing. Okay. So let's see, my next point. Okay, a broken woman believes that jealousy, insecurity, fighting, or arguing equates to love. Okay, there was a point in the movie where she mentioned like suicidal thoughts, um, the jealousy of his co-worker, his co-star, the co-star in the movie, the insecurity of him actually choosing this lady as the co-star in the film over her because she actually had auditioned for the movie as well. Okay, and let me see. I'm just gonna go into it a little bit, but she had auditioned for this movie, the same role that the co-star got. She auditioned for that co-star for that role as well, but she didn't like bring her full self. Yeah, I mentioned it in one of my points, so I'm gonna just stop it there. But she had jealousy and insecurity towards the co-star of the movie because she actually had gotten the role, and she thought, I guess, that the all of the drama that came from Marie to Malcolm was like an indication of love. You know, she talked about how in a relationship, how she had basically been there for him, or, she expressed these thoughts of jealousy and insecurity and the fighting to make it seem like she loved him, and that's just again more emotional manipulation. All right, a whole and healthy healed woman is looking for respect. She's looking for adoration. She's looking to be cherished. Healthy shows of affection, right? Those are things that let her know, or those are ways that she shows her feelings in the relationship. All right. She is not thinking about, um, oh no, she was saying that he wouldn't like something, kind of saying that he would show his jealous side if she did the same thing. And the thing is that broken people view jealous actions, insecurity and all of that stuff is love, but what it really is emotional manipulation. Healthy and healed people appreciate respect and adoration as um, as evidence of true, healthy, and happy love and emotional commitment to another person. All right, it's healthy shows of affection. Okay. And then number seven, a broken woman cannot recognize love, right? Let me see. She wants and seeks out codependency. She's controlling. And during that scene in the second argument, you'll see where Marie was trying to control Malcolm through her emotional manipulation, like through her emotional finagling with this co-star lady. You could tell that Marie was trying to control the dynamic of the relationship with Malcolm through the way she had set things up, or the way she was phrasing things. All right. So a healthy and secure woman, a whole woman, um, will know that she's free from shame and guilt, and she's able to receive and give good, right? She only tolerates kindness. So she's not looking for some insanely jealous man or insanely controlling action to prove that her man loves her, or to prove that she's in a loving situation, right? She's not looking for unhappiness or drama or argument to prove how fiercely she's loved. She's free from shame and guilt. She's free from feeling the weight of shame and the weight of guilt about different situations. And she's able to give and receive goodness. Okay, she's able to notice good gestures and she's able to receive those good gestures when they come her way. She only tolerates kindness and respect and adoration, as we mentioned earlier. All right. A broken woman, um, a broken woman overshares to paint herself as a victim. Okay, this again is going into the emotional manipulation that many of us are operating from in these relationships, where we talk about the more unsavory parts of us, but we are doing that just to paint ourselves as a victim or a damsel in distress or a delicate flower. But what it is just an opportunity to kind of twist it against the other person so that the other person can feel some guilt and so that the other person can feel some shame and so that the other person can kind of bend to our whim and do what it is that we want them to do. Okay, which in of itself is emotional manipulation. All right. I think I'm making this a video because I want us to begin to really think about how we show up in the relationships that we have, right? We spend a lot of time on general attraction when we are talking about this stuff in the level up community. We talk about attracting a man and the initial parts of the relationship, but we really don't go into the more substantive, components or areas or facets of a relationship. If you are getting to know someone or um not getting to know someone, but if you have made the commitment to being with this person has committed to being with you exclusively, then that's when a relationship begins. And I want us to really think about how we're showing up in those moments. A lot of us are coming from a place of, unhealed past, I guess, and this could be childhood trauma or even trauma that occurred from other relationships, as an adult or whatever. But we show up as somewhat of a victim, somewhat as a damsel. And this is just an opportunity to turn it around and use it as manipulation against the person that we're supposed to be in a relationship with. All right. And that's not healthy. That's not healthy. All right. So a whole and healthy healed woman looks within. She has an internal strength and she commits to the work necessary to heal. Okay. She's not she's not talking about or she's not stuck on the mess she was when you met her or the mistakes that she made when you met her. I don't know if this is the part of the movie, but there was some dialogue where Malcolm talked about how she was addicted to drugs and pills when he met her and how she was, just a mess. And he even went into the fact that she cheated on him with his friends. Okay. But he really loved her and wanted to be with her. And he saw that she was broken, but he committed to staying with her and kind of being with her, and those things she turned around and shamed him for, even though they were good gestures for her to help build her into the woman that she was or had become in that moment. She turned those good gestures and those good actions from him into um, something wrong, right? Because this whole movie was about him not doing something right for her, even though he had been there for her in her lowest moments, even though they had made it through whatever happened with the infidelity with the friend, and he still stayed with her. Like, he was expressing love to her the best way he knew how, but she still took those scenarios and situations and twisted them into some way, somehow, where he was wrong. Okay, I think that's where these notes are coming from. All right. So she looks within and she commits to the work necessary to heal herself. I don't recommend, you know, you know, getting into a serious relationship when you're battling addiction, addiction to pills or addiction to other drugs. Like, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know if that's the best time to get in a relationship, but I definitely can see how it um, can help give you the support you need to kind of stand up on your own. But it also can make you vulnerable to people who didn't have the good intentions like Malcolm had for her to help her clean herself up. It can make her fall prey or victim to those people who just want to re-abuse her or re-victimize her in some kind of way, right? Um, so okay, so now we're moving forward, and Malcolm spoke about how this was the most important night of his career at the moment, right? He had received this award for this movie, and here she goes making this argument all about her. It was about her. She made the whole movie, the whole argument about her and how she was unhappy with how he responded to some way. I mean, responded to her in some way. And he was saying, like, look, this is a big night for me. This is huge for me. And I have apologized to you. And for whatever you feel I did wrong, I have apologized to you. And you are ruining my big night. You're ruining my big accomplishment, my big achievement. Like, we should be celebrating my award, but here you are fighting with me over something that you didn't like that I did, right? So um, from her brokenness, she couldn't accept a good thing happening to him without making it about her. And so many times we do this, right? In the community, we talk about quote unquote being the prize, right? So we can have a man that has worked hard to get to a certain level in his career. We could have a man that has, you know, gone through some, huge challenges to kind of and overcome those challenges and experience some success in his life or something. And instead of walking and knowing internally that we are the prize, we have to verbally state it. Like, I'm the prize here. Okay. Yeah, you successful, and yeah, you have accomplished a lot of your dreams and stuff. And yeah, you have put in a lot of work and you have some dedication and hard work and tenacity and all of that stuff. But me, okay, I'm the prize here. It's me that you need to be focused on here, right? And that's something that turns a lot of men off. And that's something that a lot of women don't see is just a projection of low self-esteem or insecurity or even the emotional manipulation that I talked about earlier, right? Um, in our brokenness, it is difficult for us to accept the good things that are happening for other people. Um, and let me see, what else did I say? And we start arguments or fights or conflicts to make it about their victimization, right? We start these arguments, we start these fights, we start this conflict to make it about um us, or to make it about a lack of acknowledgement in some kind of way, so that you can feel bad, or the guy, so that the guy can feel bad, the guy can feel shame, the guy can feel guilt, and then turn around and pour more adoration or pour more love on top of you, right? When this is a moment that, he should be being acknowledged, right? Like, everything not always about you and what you think and your woe is me, right? Sometimes good things are happening for other people, and you need to stand back and celebrate the good things that are happening for other people, right? It's not always about what somebody did wrong to you, or if they acknowledge the greatness that you are, right? If you know that you're great, and we all know that we are great, okay? And we've done the work to be um, hanging out with the heavy hitters and everything, right? The upper echelon, we're there. So we know that we qualify, right? We can validate ourselves, right? When you know those things, then you can allow the good to happen for other people. You can stand back and clap for other people. You can give people their roses while they can smell them, right? That's what a healthy and healed and whole woman can do. From our brokenness, we got to make sure that everybody know it's about me and it's about me being the prize, okay? So a healthy and happy healed woman knows how to be happy for herself and for others. She knows how to stand back and celebrate others and acknowledge the great things about others and acknowledge others' amazing compliments and to be there and support them emotionally as well. She doesn't make it all about her or make it about something that you did wrong to her or some type of challenge she's overcome, right? She can step back and allow another person to be acknowledged or happiness or greatness to come for another person and still be happy and supportive in that moment. All right. Um, Women who are operating from their brokenness are looking for validation and approval, justification of their existence and importance. We're looking for somebody to constantly tell us, oh, you are amazing. We're looking for, when we are operating from our brokenness, we're looking for people to say, oh, I couldn't have done this without you. If you didn't give me your opinion, I would have never been able to get this done, or I would have never seen this from that perspective without you. Right? From our brokenness, we want to make sure that people validate us and justify our our existence. But healthy and healed women know that they are enough and that they know we know that we are whole without the opinions of others. Like in the beginning, when I talked about what the coworker, the co-star said, or what the mother said to Marie, you know, if Marie was a whole woman, if she wasn't operating from her brokenness, then she would have been operating from a space where she knew she was enough, right? Where she knew that she was whole without other people's opinions. She knew that Malcolm loved her. She knew that she was important in his life. She knew that some of the things that she said about him or to him may have shown up in this movie, and she saw those things manifested, right? That was his thank you, his appreciation for the contributions that she had made in his life. She would have seen those things realized and manifested in real life in real time, right? She wouldn't need a person to come in and say, she wouldn't need Malcolm to stand up in front of the whole award committee where he's receiving this award and say, yeah, that time, that scene in the movie where a person overdosed from cocaine. I don't know what drug it was, but that scene where someone overdosed, the character overdosed from cocaine. I got that from my lovely girlfriend, Marie. Right? I mean, how embarrassing would that be for him to point out to the audience that that the person who had overdosed from cocaine was actually the woman that he was with? Right? And you could point to her and look at her in the audience, and everybody could turn and look at her as a woman who had overdosed from cocaine, right? But see, Marie and her brokenness would have thought that that was some type of validation. Oh, this lady right here kicked a cocaine habit. Oh, this lady right here that I'm looking at right now while we are acknowledging her boyfriend and his amazing movie that he created, and we're about to give him this award for it. Overdosed on cocaine and she almost died. And, they found her in the middle of the street, 2 seconds away from death. And she bounced back. And look at her sitting here right now looking beautiful, right? For a broken woman, that's validation, that's justification, that's acknowledgement. But from a healthy and healed woman, she doesn't need that type of attention. She doesn't need that type of spotlight, right? She knows that her man loves her. In this situation, we're talking about her man in his acknowledgement of her. She knows that he's acknowledged the things that she shared with him and her triumphant spirit by putting it in the movie and showing this woman in the movie overcoming and achieving her greatest dreams and desires, right? She didn't need a whole and healthy, healed, and happy woman, wouldn't need him to point out her or identify her lowest moments to a room full of strangers, right? Okay. This is so much. Oh my goodness. Let me take a sip of water. My goodness. It's so deep. I really hope, I think this is going to be my best video ever, but I really hope that people listen. I hope that women can hear this video and really think about if we are showing up in our relationships with not just men but women, family members, just period, if showing up in our relationships in any way like this. All right. um okay, there was a point in the movie where Malcolm told her, like, look, I done been with other women that have been addicted to drugs before. I have been with other women that have been down on their luck before, or at the bottom of the barrel before, or bouncing back from extreme hardship before. You are not the only woman that I've been with that suffered this way. Okay. And now I was looking at a review um, by For Harriet. Okay. And she used that moment in the movie to describe Malcolm as a serial abuser, right? And that's why I wanted to make this movie, and I really wanted to talk about how we see, if we're really looking at things in as realistic of a perspective as possible. It's so easy to say that men are at the fault, right? But if some men love to help women, right? Help them become better women and better people. I know some guys like that, right? They will take a woman that is down on her luck and be with her, truly and honestly be with her. And the relationship may end because they're dealing with a broken woman. But where she was living with her cousins and catching the bus when he met her, she is living in her own home. She has a good job. She has a good car. She has like a brighter future now after her relationship with him, right? And that's kind of something that I saw in Malcolm, right? He wanted to help Marie. He wanted to be there for her. He helped her get off drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, he supported her when she was in her lowest moments. That's not a an indication of a serial abuser. That's kind of what a real good man is, right? Like, that's support, that's love in its truest form, but when we are operating from our brokenness, we don't really see gestures of love as love, right? Because a lot of our gestures are coming off for the purpose of emotional manipulation. We are wanting to be painted as weak and vulnerable and fragile and broken so that someone can save us or take pity on us, or to take those situations and shame a person for not doing what we want them to do, or guilt them for not giving us what we want them to give us, right? But what they're giving us is love. In that moment, Malcolm also talked about how she had cheated on him with his friend, you know, and he still wanted to be with her. And that's when I really began to view Malcolm as trying to express the love that he had for her. And in between one of the arguments, I think this conversation came about in their third round of arguments, but he ended up taking a walk outside, and you could just see that he was just frustrated. Oh, he just could not he didn't know how to respond. He was walking through the darkness and he was like emotionally like in turmoil. He didn't know how, he was like wanting to scream out into the wilderness because he was just frustrated, right? And I think in that moment he was saying, I love this girl and I've been with this girl and I've been trying to be with this girl, and you know, I want the best for this girl, and I just cannot get her to understand that that I'm giving her true and real love. She doesn't see it. She doesn't acknowledge it, right? Um so in our brokenness, we are looking for oh, we in our brokenness, we are looking for we love the pain of being hurt. Okay? We love the pain of being degraded, disrespected, and put down. Okay? When he met her as this drug addicted girl with no direction and no guidance, you know, he talked about how even though he had been with other women that had suffered similar issues to what she was going through when he met her, that she was the only person she was the only person that he dealt with that appreciated pain and hurt and disrespect and degrading the way, I mean, to the degree that she did. And he was talking in that moment about sexually, right? He was saying, you are the only person who loved to be debased to the degree, to this degree that I've noticed or something. And that's because she was still in that broken place. He was with her when she, through the journey of the addiction to the drugs and the mess of her life of, you know, cheating with his friend and stuff like that. But deep inside, she was still that same broken person who only related love to pain and only related love to disrespect and only related love to degrading, right? And I'm going to talk about this in another video, or I think I'm going to start a little Patreon or something like that. But we're going to get into like sex and the kinds of sex women have and like what that means to the men that you're with. Okay? You know, some of us feel that um some of us feel that the more rough the sex is, the more physical the sex is, the more painful the sex is, that means it's good sex. And the guy appreciates being able to do stuff, to your face or to be rough with you. Like the guy really appreciates that. But what that really translates to is unhealed trauma. We don't see it that way, but men can pick up on it right away. A lot of times, for some immature guys, okay, some immature guys will ask you how many men you've been with, right? But a smart guy, a good man can tell how many men you've been with by the way you have sex. They can tell how many men you've been with by the way you have sex. They can tell if you are a happy and healed and whole woman, whether you have sex on the first night or you have sex 4 months later. They can tell if you have unresolved trauma, right, from the first night or for 4 months. And a lot of us don't know what they look for. But the way you have sex tells a man a lot about you. So Malcolm went into that a little bit, talking about how she loved to be debased and degraded. And that was more of an indication of the true brokenness that still remained inside of her. All right. Um, yeah. So anyway, a healthy and healed woman, she knows and accepts, she appreciates loving, respectful, uplifting actions. okay? She is when we talking about sex, I'm gonna go deeper into this, but she not trying to, give you the best head of your life, or she not trying to do all these tricks and all of that type of stuff. She understands that just being there and connecting with you emotionally is enough. She's not gonna let you just have your way with her body just because she can or you can, right? She understands that she is, in fact, this delicate flower, and she does, in fact, need to be unwrapped gently and carefully and with kindness and patience and in time. Okay. And so when men talk about, some men, right, talk about having sex very early in a relationship or waiting for 3 months and how it doesn't really matter, that's what they're talking about, right? Are you gonna lay it all out in the beginning on that first session? You gonna just let him have his way? It don't matter if you let him have his way the first night or you let him have his way 6 months into the courtship after you done pretended to be something that you're not. It doesn't matter when or how you do it. If that's how you are moving, then it tells him everything he needs to know about you. But I'm going to talk about that in a different space, right? In a different format, because for my goldies, I really want us to think about how we are coming across and how we're presenting ourselves in these relationships. And especially if we're talking about being in long term relationships, committed relationships, these are important things that we need to focus on and things that we need to have acknowledged and healed, or be aware of at least, if we want these things to be successful. So I want to make sure that I'm having a conversation about sex in particular, um, in a really safe and secure place. Okay, and YouTube just is not that place, but it came up in the movie, and that's something that I wanted to acknowledge. All right, broken women that are still dealing with their trauma, women that are masking unhealed trauma, or seeking to operate from a place of emotional manipulation. They love pain, they love being hurt, they love being disrespected, right? Because in their mind, they can take all of those situations and twist them around, use that emotional manipulation to guilt the guy or to guilt the other person and to shame them and make them do what it is that they want, right? It's control. It's that, up in one of the other points, it is um it is that control, it is that jealousy, it's that insecurity, it's that codependency that she's operating from. And you might not even know it. We might not even know that that's what we are doing or how we're showing up. Okay? Um let's see. And then I have another note here. Um Okay, so my next note, I'm almost done. I got two more points, and then I got some honorable mentions, and then I'm gonna be done. I thought this was gonna be a long video, but I'm surprised at how long this video is. I really wish that I had been able to have this conversation when people were awake, so that we could have more of a dialogue with it, because this is something that needs to be discussed. Like, we need to have a full conversation around it. And it's my fault. Maybe one day when I don't have my babies, or my husband is here and he can take the babies, then um we can try to see if we want to bring the conversation back up. But anyway, women operating from a broken place, they give less than their full effort, yet they expect to achieve at the highest levels, okay? They self sabotage and blame others for their lack of passion, okay? Now, there is this part in the movie where, after a huge fight, okay? Because Marie, if you watch the movie, Marie started every single fight, okay? So this was like the third round or the last round of fights, I think it was. And Marie started this fight and then stormed off, right? She said something that that I mean, he said something, she said something to him that she knew was gonna make him mad, and he didn't respond the way that she wanted him to. He didn't yell and cuss her out the way that she wanted him to. So she just bust out, "I hate you." And he said, "I hate you too." Right? It was kind of funny to him at this point. I think for his side, it was kind of funny because he was going crazy. He didn't smoke cigarettes, but she smoked cigarettes. And at this point in the movie, he was smoking her cigarettes, right? He was drinking. He had poured himself another drink. He had taken a walk around the property and was like frustrated, like, damn, this girl is getting on my dang on nerves. And I don't know how to like express to her how much I'm into this situation. I don't know how to get her to see it, right? Um, but um, so at this round of fights, she put on a robe. She had taken a shower. Okay, I think this the third round of fights, the last round of fights. She had gotten out the bath
It's three
and
o'clock.
she put on some clean clothes. She put on this robe. This was after he had the conversation with her about how she enjoyed pain and enjoyed being hurt and loved people to like trample over her and stuff, right? So he went to his own place and started, his own space in the house and started playing music. And she got dressed and kind of calmed down. And she was looking around for him. Okay. If you watch the movie, I want you to notice how she was looking around for him. She wanted to know where he was. And this was so familiar to me. Okay. Because even sometimes when my husband be getting on my nerves after I take some deep breaths and eat some or whatever. I'm looking for him like, where he at? He in the basement. Let me go put some clothes in the washer. Right. I just be wanting to like still be around him. Right. Even though like I didn't just got on his nerves. so anyway, um, so anyway, she came and put on this robe and she grabbed this knife off the counter. And I was like, whoa, Marie is crazy. She about to go crazy on him, right? So she took this knife and she started dragging it. She like kneeled down in front of him because he was laying on the floor listening to music. She kneeled down in front of him and he was like, whoa, Marie, put the knife down, right? Like, don't be crazy, put the knife down. He thought she was about to kill him. I thought she was about to kill him. So she started talking about how she had um how she had overcome her dependency on drugs and she had cleaned herself up and she put in the work and she just gave this real emotional performance of a broken woman and a woman that was like on the verge of like a mental breakdown, on the verge of suicide, right? And after she had convinced him through her little dialogue there that she was serious and that she was about to go crazy with this knife, she snapped out of it and was like, that's how you acknowledge a person's talent or something like that. Because she was arguing with him about not casting her for this movie. So the thing is, when he saw that she was just acting, he said, why didn't you show up like that during the audition? He was shocked. He couldn't believe that she was able to emote in that way, right? But when we are operating from our broken place, we self sabotage. We blame others for our own lack of passion, right? We can be as great as we know we are. We can like really be great but refuse to allow ourselves to be great because of this self sabotage or um, lack of self love or desire to be a victim. It could be so many reasons why we are doing this, but we always show up as less than what we are um, capable of. excuse me, we show up as less than who we are. We show up as less than our worth, as less than our value, but we still want other people to give us give us what people who are operating at their highest and working their hardest get, right? We show up with a half effort, but we want people to give us everything that a person that's sacrificing and dedicated deserves, right? When we're operating from our brokenness, we expect everything and we give nothing in return, right? We don't even consider giving our full effort, right? But we still expect to receive the reward of someone, the reward that a person who sacrificed and gave their full effort would get. Okay? So, so when we are operating from our healthy and healed positions, we put in and commit to the work. Okay? We see our dreams into fruition. We give our all and we get what it is that we want. We try. And when we try with our full effort, we get what it is that we deserve. When we're working in our brokenness, we give nothing and expect to have everything back in return, right? Now, this gonna make some of us mad. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. When we talk about the not bringing nothing to the table, that is operating from our brokenness in and of itself, right? That is saying that I can show up with nothing and get everything in return, right? But healthy and healed, whole people know that you have to give your all in order to get the best, right? In order to be counted worthy of the best, right? Some people talk about when you, for example, people who win the lottery get their millions of dollars and don't know how to maintain it, right? Because they never worked for it. They never, um, they never deserved it. They just got it handed to them. And when you have things just handed to you, you don't know how to maintain it, right? You don't know how to honor it, right? So in our brokenness, we give nothing and expect everything in return. She gave a piss poor audition for that role and expected to get the role that she wanted just because she knew him, but she was capable of giving so much more. And in her self sabotage, refused to do that. All right. In our brokenness, we blame others for our own lack of passion. Okay. So this is the last thing. Um, in our brokenness, we love unconditionally, which is really just a lack of boundaries. Yeah, we really are unhappy and looking for our version of reciprocity. Okay. We see love as a chore and we punish people with bad words, with shame, with guilt whenever we are let down. Okay. And this is going back into this is the end of the movie now, and this is my last point from what I've seen in the movie and how I have seen Marie show up in this movie. She considered herself to be loving unconditionally, right? Because she had given, quote unquote, from her mind, she had given Malcolm everything, and it was evidenced in her coming in and making this macaroni for him, even though she felt that he had disrespected her at the release party or whatever. But she was still there for him. She went into this whole dialogue about how he's not worried about if she has been with a man that makes her happier, or um, you know, if she had been with a man that is better than him or smarter than him, that he's not concerned about that, right? Um, but what that is just really a lack of boundaries, okay? Because if you feel that you can do better than the man that you are with and you choose to be with him, then how can you turn his flaws and faults against him when you're upset that he doesn't do something that you want him to do. And in this case, it was he didn't acknowledge her the way that she wanted to be acknowledged. So she was saying, I've been with men that are better than you. And I could be with a man that is better than you and that's funnier than you and that is happier than you. But here I am still with you and I'm making you macaroni, and you can't even acknowledge me for this movie, right? That from her mind, from her brokenness, is painting her as a victim, but from reality, is painting her as someone who is emotionally manipulated. It's someone who is loving, quote unquote, unconditionally, but really she has a lack of boundaries, right? Why would you be giving everything and doing everything and being there for a person and loving a person that you feel um loving your expression of your love, you feel as if it's a chore, you feel as if it's a heavy burden when you know that you can do better, right? When you know that you don't have to be in that position, right? That's not a noble thing, right? It makes you appear as if you are broken, because why else would you subject yourself to that? It makes it appear as if you want to emotionally manipulate this person. I'm loving you unconditionally. The least you could do is acknowledge me. No, if you're loving me unconditionally and you see that I'm not acknowledging you properly, then why are you staying around for you to be treated this way? Why won't you develop better boundaries? Why won't you respect yourself more and demand more for yourself if you're giving what you consider to be unconditionally towards a person who doesn't appreciate it, right? But again, when we go back in the last point, we as broken women show up with nothing and expect everything in return. We're saying that I'm giving you this unconditional love, which is really it's a chore for you. You don't like it. You feel like you're not being appreciated. You feel like you're not getting anything in return. But when that person doesn't do what it is that you want them to do, then you remind them and say, hey, I made this macaroni for you. Hey, you wouldn't have been able to make this movie if my life wasn't such a mess and if I wasn't addicted to crack and cocaine or whatever it is. And if I wasn't a mess and in shambles, then you wouldn't have been able to receive this reward or this award for this movie, right? It's emotional manipulation, it's the shame and it's the guilt. And I don't know if some of us recognize that we have showed up or maybe showing up in relationships that way. All right. So that's why I titled this stream a tale of a broken woman, right? I don't think Marie viewed herself as a broken woman, but from everything in this whole movie, she laid out how she was in fact broken. Okay, how she didn't have the unconditional love for herself to choose better if she was in fact unhappy. Okay, but what really was going on is that she had a man that was in love with her and she couldn't see it and he couldn't express it either. Like he couldn't communicate it to her. He was showing her in action how he loved her, but through her brokenness, she couldn't see it. And that's why she kept starting all of those fights with him. And at one point in the movie, he said, oh, you want to go hardcore? Okay, well, let's go hardcore. And that's when he started telling her, in your trauma, I can see, like with the sex and everything that he mentioned, he could see how hurt she really was by the things that she allowed and accepted from him. Well, not just from him, but from any man, like the things that she would allow and accept from people, the treatment that she accepted sexually, not just from him. I'm assuming she was cool with some wild stuff. That's kind of how she received love. I knew somebody that would she was in a domestic abusive relationship and this guy was married And he would get mad and he would like throw stuff and he had fought her a few times. He would kick in holes in her doors and walls and have the police over there at her house and everything. And after they would have these huge fights in front of her babies, okay, they would go in the room and have sex. And the sex that they had was so violent. Not violent per se, like he was gonna kill her or something, but it was inappropriate. you know, it was sex that a whole and happy and healthy and healed woman would not allow, right? And that showed him the depth of her trauma. Not only was she allowing him to disrespect her and degrade her and put her down and beat her up and then be intimate with her, but she was allowing him to do all of that and still be rough with her in the moments where we all would expect the most kind and sweet and gentle interaction possible from the person that we're with, right? So anyway, I hope I hope that this whole thing makes sense. It made a lot of sense to me when I was writing it out and when I was watching this movie. And a lot of us are have a lot of us have unhealed trauma that we haven't addressed or healed. Like we kind of been sweeping it under the rug. Like um Marie swept her dislike for how he didn't acknowledge her under the rug, and then 5 minutes later started a new argument. And then after that argument calmed down, 5 minutes after that, then she started a new round of arguments, right? How she loved pain and mistreatment and disrespect, right? How she was begging for validation and acknowledgement and justification and just what's the word that I use? She was she was looking for a justification of her existence, right? Something inside of her couldn't or wasn't telling her that she was whole and that she was good enough just as she was, okay? Just regular missionary or a little hit it from the back wasn't good enough. She had to be choked and spat on and called bees, right? Right? So anyway, my little um final notes. Okay. So I got some honorable mention. At the end of this movie, I saw what Marie's whole goal was, and I'm gonna hurry up and get to it. But my honorable mentions: when we have unhealthy habits like smoking, she was smoking cigarettes in this example. But previously she was addicted to cocaine. I think it was cocaine. But he also mentioned that she was addicted to pills when he met her. Um, when we have when we display a lack of boundaries, when we show low self-love, when we show that we inflict harm upon ourselves, those are all examples of brokenness or unhealed trauma within ourselves, okay? And I know you might feel like I'm forcing it a little bit when I say that smoking cigarettes, for example, is an example of brokenness or trauma, but it really is. It's like a coping mechanism, right? It's a dependency, right? It's an inability to function without something. I mean, without something outside of yourself. It's an inability to regulate your own emotions. It's an inability to manage tough situations without depending on something, even something as simple as a cigarette. Okay. Now hers went deeper into cocaine and pills, and then the lack of boundaries, like cheating with his friend, and the low self love that she exhibited for herself by by allowing herself to remain in a situation that she felt unappreciated or uncherished in, okay? And even the self harm, all right? So if you notice that in yourself or others, in in subtle ways. Those are things for you to begin to explore on a deeper level and really think about the why and how this thing is happening or why it's happening or why you haven't addressed it yet, right? We don't always just run head first into addressing our issues, but if you can acknowledge it and know that it's there, take that introspective look and know that it's something that you need to delve more deeply in, put it on your list. Go into therapy, talk to somebody who know you and love you and care about you, and begin putting in the work, right? Go ahead and get rid of that self-sabotage so that you can emerge as your best and most dynamic self. After you have worked on healing those things, you can develop those boundaries. You can show positive self love for yourself. You can see good things happening for other people and celebrate them, right? You can be there as a person to acknowledge the amazing things about another person without thinking about how you lack or where you lack, okay? Um, the other thing, harsh language, cuss words, right? Um, in relationships, intimate relationships, especially, a relationship with a man or a relationship with a woman, but even relationship with friends, relationships with family, harsh words. When you have a friend, and this is this is kind of just me. This is kind of just me, like my opinion here. But I think that when we cuss at each other or like use like um disrespectful or dismissive tones to each other, that's an example of something more within, right? That you might need to explore, right? um in the movie, they they did cuss, a lot. And to me, it's an example of more, right? Like the person that you love and the person that you share your most intimate thoughts and feelings with, and you allow to touch you and rub on you and kiss you and stuff, you know, it's difficult to, um, I don't know, why do you allow them to cuss at you, or why would you cuss at them, like saying f you or be this or n word that, um f out of my face, like I hate you, like you really should think about the things that you allow people close to you to say to you, and the things that you allow yourself to say to people that you keep close to you or people that you consider yourself loving. All right, that's something to think about. Um, you know, yeah, you know, yeah. I just feel like if you mad at your man and you be like, F you, you old bum ass nigga, like, you know what I'm saying? Even after you calm down and you apologize, or he apologized for whatever brought y'all there or whatever the situation is, I don't know. How do you justify saying some real mean, effed up stuff to somebody and be okay with that? You know, I think it deserves some exploration. So if you have relationships with people, not just a man, but friends or family, because I know some girls like to call each other the B word and all of that type of stuff, or the H word, you know, and even in our communities, we call ourselves hoes sometimes, right? Right? Let's be honest. Sometimes in our community, we say that I'm a hoe. I don't know why we are talking like this about ourselves, but let's really think about it and give it some thought. All right. If you cool with it, then be cool with it. But if you're not, then kind of think about that. Are you showing yourself in your most elevated form, when you allow yourself to be spoken to this way, or when you speak to yourself or about yourself in that way. All right. And then my last honorable mention is that um yeah, the dating while unhealed causes the relapsing, like when she relapsed for her addiction to the drugs, the cheating with the guy's best friend, Like, that's something else that we done heard in our spaces about cheating with somebody friend, like, you know, dating while unhealed can cause you to act in really a way that shows a lack of self-love, right? A lack of self-love. Really think about some of this stuff. And then my last thing, Imma read it. It says, "After she broke him down at the end of the movie, um, the end of the movie, he they had an argument, and this was the last argument, and he went to his own space, and he just sat there and he stood there, and you could tell that he might have dropped a tear, but you could tell that he was just like on the verge of tears. She had him feeling like shit over nothing. She had him feeling like pure shit over her own lack of self love for herself, of speaking up for herself, of clearly defining her own boundaries, right? So after the fight, he went and stood like in isolation, and you can just tell that he was really about to cry. And she was in the bathroom brushing her hair. You could see a sense of satisfaction on her face, right? This is when we are broken women or operating from a broken space. We want other people, think about this. We want other people to feel as lowly about themselves as we feel about ourselves. Okay? So if we feel like we ain't nothing but a bitch, we want other people to feel like they're nothing but bitches. Okay? If we feel like we ain't nothing but a low down dirty hoe, we want other people to feel like they're nothing but low down dirty hoes. If we feel worthless within ourselves, then we want other people to feel worthless within themselves. If we feel full of shame and guilt over past decisions that we've made or situations that we've found ourselves in, then we know enough about people that are around us to bring out their flaws and make them feel shame about themselves and make them feel guilt about themselves. Think about it, okay? The reason why I'm talking about this is because I've been there before. Like, this all made so much sense to me when I started to really think about it. Because before I went on my level up journey, it's been 7 years or something for me. Before I became a mother, my daughter will be 7 next month. But before I became a mother, I decided to heal some childhood trauma, I guess, and to develop some boundaries, right? I wasn't gonna let people make me feel like shit no more. I wasn't gonna allow people who thought that they was a hoe make me feel like a hoe because I was showing cleavage this day, or because I went out to the club and had fun, dancing, or maybe had some drinks, right? Or, I went to the club and I came home at 3 o'clock in the morning. You weren't gonna make me feel like a slut, right? For having clean fun, enjoying myself, not disrespecting myself. And those years ago, I decided to put an end to that, right? Um, and I realized how other people were projecting their own feelings and thoughts about themselves onto me. And this whole movie, Marie was projecting all of her feelings of worthlessness on Malcolm, who was there trying to show her and tell her how amazing she was, just by virtue of him being there and supporting her through the most difficult times in her life and still wanting to be with her and still staying with her during this fight. Right, during all of these fights, because they had like 3 fights in one night, right? He even said to her at one point, I thought we were done fighting. And she was like, "Hold on, I got some more." And she started a whole 'nother fight, right? And he never well, I don't know, he kinda got frustrated and, started getting back mean with her. But he wasn't calling her no B's and H's. He wasn't telling her that he hated her. You know, this was all stuff that she was dreaming up or conjuring up in her own mind and twisting his words and blaming it on him when that's how she really felt about herself. So, after she had known that she had finally gotten to him and broken him down to pieces, she felt good. She was happy. She went to the room and she sat there and closed the door. And he came into the room and he was like, "Look, I know that we are going to get married and divorced several times. You know, I love you so much. Let's go ahead and get married. And, yeah, we probably gonna get divorced, but we'll get married again, right?" I know that he was just joking, but he was saying to her in his male language that a lot of us are not able to recognize. He was saying, "I love you enough to fight through this thing with you." Right? And I'm saying to those of us who are dealing with that, love yourself enough to heal yourself from it. Right? Don't be in a situation where you got to get married and divorced several times until you begin to love yourself more, or till you begin to develop good boundaries for yourself, or till you begin to develop to treat yourself with self love and dignity and respect, and to demand that and expect that from other people, to where you can validate yourself and you don't need other people to tell you how great you are because you already know how amazing you are, right? So anyway, after um she broke him down to tears, she knew that he was like affected. She just walked away. She went to brush her teeth and she was feeling victorious. When we are broken women operating from our broken space, we are only happy when we make others feel as broken as they feel. Okay, I said all this already. This was a relationship that she chose on her own, right? So whatever unhappiness that she felt she was experiencing in the relationship, she chose it. This was a boyfriend. This was not a husband, and they didn't have children together. She didn't have no reason to be there. For her to withstand all of this was voluntary. It was a choice that she made. But the reason why she stayed in that situation was because she was, in fact, broken herself. All right. And maybe she didn't know how broken she was. Maybe she didn't know how she was operating from a broken space. Maybe she didn't know that she hadn't healed her trauma. But when you look around and when you really watch the movie, you can see that she's just a broken girl. And you can see that she has a man that loves her, that's with her, that wants her to be the best person that she doesn't even know is like she's capable of. I think he sees so much inside of her, but like in the audition, he sees so much that she's capable of. But when it's time for her to show up and show out as that, she begins operating in that brokenness, which causes self sabotage, and for her to give less than a full effort, but still expect a full return back. Okay? she she's operating from her brokenness, but she wants, instead of healing her brokenness and moving into a happy place where she's able to have happy experiences and have a relationship void of drama, she instead wants to bring others, Malcolm in this case, she instead wants to bring others into the misery that she's feeling herself. Right? I hope that makes sense. That's the end. I think that I'm gonna do another piece on Malcolm because Malcolm loved this lady and he told her that he loved her. A lot of times men can't tell you why or how they love you. The only thing they can say is I love you. And they expect you to know that that's like with everything inside of them, and they are committed to you, and even through your greatest flaws, like they love you enough to stay through it and work through it. That's like true love for real men, for good men. I'm not talking about these these jokes of men that we know be playing around with us. When you are a truly healed and whole woman, you can detect a bullshit man from miles and miles away. Okay. But when you are a broken woman dealing in your trauma, you can have a man that's just totally in love with you and you can never even see it. You can never even notice it. You never even realize it because you are lacking in love for yourself. All right. So anyway, I want to do another piece from Malcolm because Malcolm kind of shows how black men love in a way. You know, they're not able to communicate it. They're not able to communicate it or articulate it, but they go with you through the throes of this relationship and they stay there with you, hoping that one day you will realize the words that they can't say, you know, hoping one day you will feel the love they have for you in their heart. Like one day it'll like click in your mind, or you'll notice their gestures and realize that they are just totally in love with you. Or one day you will develop your own strong constitution of self-love within your own self and be able to acknowledge and receive the immense love that they have for you. All right. So yeah, everybody was calling this movie toxic, and I think it's because they were looking at it from the surface. When you really begin to like dissect the actions and the hows and the whys and the when this stuff happened, you will really see a lot of patterns that play out in our own everyday relationships, not just with men, but with family, you know, mothers, sisters, brothers, even fathers, right? We see all of this stuff and we don't know what to call it. We don't know how to define it other than toxic, you know? But sometimes it's important for you to really take time and take that introspective look and really begin to dissect, you know, what's happening in your everyday life, how you're showing up, how you're responding to things, how people are showing up for you, how people are responding to things for you. You know, that's gonna tell you who loves you. And one of the next videos I'm gonna do is about ghosting. In the group we talked about ghosting, but um ghosting. You know, we think that when a man says stuff like, um, what can I give you? You know, um, what can I give you? Um, you know, and that makes us think that they are interested in us. But really, when a man is asking you, you know, what can I be for you? You know, how can I help you? How can I grow you? You know, how can I walk with you, support you? That's what you want to see. You know, when they say what you want to do, how can I make sure that you enjoy yourself? You can you can count your days to the moment that he's going to walk away with sometimes your time and other times, you know, intimate experiences with you. Just walk away and go on to his next victim. We really got to begin to identify when people are sincere about being with us, when people really love us, when people really want to be with us versus people who are just using us for the time being. Anyway, I've been here long enough. I'm about to go. Okay. Your love is golden. Your time is valuable. Don't waste it. Okay. Leave some comments down below if um you understood what I was saying. I mean, I don't even know if all of my rambling made sense to anybody, okay? But I want to remind my goldies that your love is golden, all right? Your love is golden. And the greatest love of all is the love that you have for yourself. When you don't have a strong love for yourself, it's hard to see when others have love for you. Okay. So, anyway, y'all have a good night. Bye.